Welcome to the Purpose Driven Mom Show, episode 370. Today, I want to talk you through my planning pathway framework. This is a new framework that I've made up that I am using to filter every work project through. And if you are someone who's thinking about how to plan out the end of the year, it is time, right? Do you have a Black Friday sale for your business? Do you want to launch your podcast before the end of the year? Whatever it is, I want you to think about that today. I want you to think about that goal that you have set for yourself, that one that was on the vision board back in the beginning of the year or in December, or whenever you did it. And I want you to ask yourself, how can I use this to propel that goal off the paper, off the vision board, and actually make it happen? Show notes for this episode are going to be over at purposedrivenmom.com/podcast370, or you can search Purpose Driven Mom and find our brand new YouTube channel. We're putting videos of the podcast up. We're putting clips up, and some people just prefer to listen to podcasts or tune in over here on the video. So if you're on YouTube, drop a comment. Let me know that you're here on the channel. It's a new thing we're trying, so we want to see if you like it. Please let me know if you listened, if you like this format. And if you're listening on the podcast show notes, just scroll on up on your player at purposedrivenmom.com/podcast370. Now, let's dive into the planning pathway framework. It's kind of a mouthful, right? But I think it is exactly what we need as business owners to come up with a business idea. So whether you're starting from scratch or validate a new project. All right. So if you are coming in, I want you to think of who you are, right? Are you someone who's like, I wanted to start a business by the end of the year, or I want to like get my business ready to go off and like take off in 2024? Tune in with that mindset. If you're someone who's like, oh, I said I was going to write this book. I said I was going to start a blog. I said I wanted to get this new TikTok strategy up. Tune in with that mindset. Okay. Because the planning pathway framework can work for any of this. Having a framework for planning your goals allows you to be less scrambled. It allows you to actually feel like you're making progress and not just, I got to work on this project. I got to work on that project. I got to work on this project. Here's the thing. Whether you're a solopreneur, you've been around the block a few times, you got a bunch of contractors or team members. I want you to know that if all you're doing is working on the nitty gritty of your business and you're working in your business instead of quote on your business, then you're really just being your own assistant, right? You need to become a CEO. And again, whether you have no team members or a million, you have to be a CEO. When you're just thinking about the next step for tomorrow, instead of let me look a quarter out, you're going to feel like your business is a hamster on a wheel. I like to do this every quarter. This is kind of my quarterly planning process for when I pick my goals. So now that we're heading into quarter 4, I want you to think about, hey, how can I use this for quarter 4? So here's what we're going to go through. We're going to go through the who, the where, the how, and the what. Again, keep your business in mind. Step 1 is the who. Now, I did an episode on this last week where I really took kind of a clip from a workshop that I did. So if you want more detail on the who, go back and listen to that episode. But who is where you're validating what you want to do. So before you even think about what you're going to do, and I got to record these podcast episodes and get this many people and make this new freebie, whatever it is, I want you to ask yourself, like, who am I trying to help? And like, is this something they want right now? Before you decide if this even fits into your life, because what I've done before is work on projects and nobody actually wants it. It's not what they're looking for. It's not their time. When I wrote the book, one of the things that really stood out for me was why it was needed, right? I wrote the 15-minute formula, which you can get Amazon, Barnes & Noble, go grab it. Almost the 2-year anniversary of the book, which is cool because now I'm starting the process for writing my second book. But when I wrote the book, I had a great business coach. A great book coach. He's wonderful, nice guy, no kids. And he didn't get what it was like for me. A lot of people who went into the book program I was in went in to be authors. I am a business owner who wanted to have a book. And so he kept pushing, get the book out early, You finish. I wrote it very fast. I wrote it in 4 months. So it was like, the book's ready. Like, you can just like hustle and get it done. And I was like, yeah, but that would be September. And I was like, September's not a good time for my moms. And he was like, well, what do you mean? Just get the book out. And I was like, no, because it's back to school. Everyone's scrambled. Everyone's thinking of a million things. It's not really the best time for them. So then he kept pushing. Well, why didn't you get it up for the holidays? I was like, no, my mom isn't thinking about herself right now. She's trying to make it through the holiday season. He was like, oh, okay. Like, when are you going to do it? And I said, January. The 3rd week in January is when my mom is ready. It's when she's started her goals. She got excited about them and she's quit because life has thrown her curveballs. That's when she needs my book. I went through this whole process to make sure it was a time that made sense for them. There's no point in rushing to get a book out if my audience isn't ready to receive it. Now, I do believe, and this is one of the prayers I do like every day, like, God, bring me the people you want me to impact. Like, I do believe like the people are ready at certain times. But if you're not thinking through your business in this way, if you're not thinking through and saying, who do I want to help? Is this something they want? And doing the research first before you plan anything out. This goes with my dream, learn, plan, do framework. If you're not doing the research first, you're wasting your time. And essentially, you could be making something that nobody even wants and have wasted that time, where you could have been working on a different project, maybe a project that people were more ready for or were interested in. And I've done a lot of analysis about this in my business this year. I actually feel like while I did my research, there were times where I didn't go through this whole framework, which is actually why I decided to write it and add it into my new program, the roadmap, because I realized that I had stopped doing this. And when I stopped doing this, guess what happened? Lower sales. I was getting frustrated. My business is failing, all those voices in my head. When really, if I go back and analyze, I didn't look at my who well enough. I didn't look at who I wanted to help with this offer, what they needed right now. I didn't sit and validate it like I should have. And I think that's really important. Again, almost 6 years in, I still forget to follow my own framework sometimes, and it doesn't work out. There's been so many times this summer, I'm like, oh, why is this not working out? Or I did follow my frameworks and I was like, oh, this was knocked out of the park. And I was like, oh, listen to your own advice, Cara, right? So even as the experts, we need to validate. What does this look like? Validating could be, hey, I'm at the start of my business, or hey, I want to do a new program. I want to make a new course. I want this new freebie. It's so much research, and it doesn't have to take forever. You could do it in a week. You could do it in a month, however you want to map it out. But what it is asking your people what they want. It's getting on Zooms. And again, go listen to that episode. I can't remember the show notes number off the top of my head, but maybe we'll link it down in the show notes for today. It was from last week. I go through this entire step-by-step process. So I'm not going to talk too much about the who today, but I walk through that whole process where I'm saying, hey, if this is who you want to help, here's how you figure out what they need, right? It's Zoom interviews, it's market research, it's spending time figuring out, is this something that I want to do, right? Am I passionate about this right now? And is this something that people need at the moment? And that is so important. I like to start always with my thing I call dream walk, where I go for a walk and I think about that person. I give them a name. It's really important to do. So whenever you're thinking about your Q4 goals, end of year, again, whatever sales you want to have, whatever you want to have going on, start with who. Validate that offer, validate that project. Make sure you feel really secure about who you want to help. Because when you're really secure about who that person is and you give them a name and you can like really picture them, a couple things happen. One is you are talking to one person. So when I write my emails, I'm writing it to that person. I put their name in my head. I say their name out loud. When I'm making program materials or a new freebie, or today I'm recording this podcast episode, I have a person in mind. It's actually a person I've talked to on DMs, where I know that they have been throwing spaghetti at a wall with their business. They're wanting very badly, we were just talking about this, to make it work. And they want to offer a new course. They want to start a brand new course. And they're like, I don't even know where to start. That's who I'm talking to today, right? And I'm not going to like say your name, put her on blast, but like I have it in my head. Have that name in your head. Other thing that happens when you do the who before anything else is it becomes less about the sale and more about the person. I'm very big on like people first business. People matter. And people can tell like when you're kind of chasing the numbers versus when you're thinking about the person. When I am doing things, I'm open to feedback and I'm moving things around in my program. It's because I care so deeply about every single person, right? I get the sales that come in on my Thrive Cart email, right? Every day. And I say, thank you, thank you, thank you for everyone that comes in, right? And there are times I don't do this. And guess what? I feel it in my business. So I just want to encourage you to think about this person. I got on some calls a couple of weeks ago when we opened the Mompreneur Roadmap, which is my group coaching program for business owners, with some people who weren't sure if it was for them, and getting to hear from them, getting to talk to them, getting to hear their worries, why, they're nervous about this program. Someone's investing in you, right? It's a transaction, whether it's their email address, whether it's a podcast download and they're giving you your time to listen to it, or whether it's financial. Think about the person. And I know it's hard because we have our own goals and we have our own things we want to do. But think about the person, okay? So all that is kind of in the who. Moving through the framework, we then move to the where. Where does this fit into my life right now? Because you could have a great project, something people want. I think I shared this last episode, but my audience is telling me up and down, do a planner, make a planner. We want a planner. We want Cara's planner. Let's do it. I don't feel excited about a planner, and I don't know where I'm going to fit that in. It's the end of the year for me too. And here's the thing that's interesting. Again, 2023 was a challenging year for me personally. I had a lot of health issues that I dealt with. I had sinus problems. I almost had a sinus surgery. We had some nodules on my thyroid. I had to get biopsy. Very scary. I had mono for a few months. Like, it was a very scary health year for me. And a lot of things got pushed back. A lot of stuff I didn't share. I guess I can share now. My husband, he had lost his job. He was out of work for 4 months. Personally, this year was one of the hardest I've had in a long time, right? And there were so many things I wanted to do. But I found myself, because I wasn't functioning at full capacity, scrambling a lot. And so I didn't stop and ask myself this question before we did our summit this year. And it was, where does this fit into my vision? Now, here's the thing. The who matched up for me. I love the summit. I'm passionate. I'm excited. My people want it. Like, it is our favorite event. This is, 5 years running, 6 years running. I can't remember anymore. I've been doing it for a really long time. We love it. We're gonna do it every year. But in March, when it was supposed to happen, I was so sick. And I said to my team, we just can't. We have to push it back. And so when I looked at my calendar and I pulled the whole year out, I said to myself, where does this fit in? And what I found was it was able to fit in June. And the reason it fit in June is because it was the only month I didn't have another project going on. And so because I'd mapped my year out and I knew that, I decided to put it in June. Well, now I know what I know. June's a terrible time. Now, listen, our summit was successful. We had about half as many attendees. We went from about almost 9,000 to about 4,000 attendees this year. But we made more money in all access sales because we had the right people coming. So it was really a great summit. But personally, awful time. My kids, end of school year. I was a Girl Scout leader. I was taking my kids to Camporee. I was trying to plan our Bridget. I mean, it was not it, right? I didn't do this. Right. And I feel like sometimes when I teach things, it's really more for me than anyone else. Because I was like, I made this framework because I realized I wasn't following it. And I knew that I needed to come up with something, which is how frameworks sometimes happen, right? I knew I needed to come up with a system for myself and then roll it out to all of you, right? So it didn't fit. Okay. Where does this project fit into your life? Again, the planner is not something, again, my people want it. It doesn't fit in. I don't have time. I don't want to hustle for it. I decided a few months ago I was going to write another book. I haven't started the book. Why? Because it wasn't my season. I wanted to take a light summer. I wanted to be off with my kids. I wanted to work part-time. Now that we're getting to the end of the year, I'm actually starting to batch things ahead again. I'm getting back on my routines. Starting to work on the book is now making more sense for me. It's a good season. So go through your projects, the freebie, the podcast, the blog, whatever it is that you want to do, and ask yourself, where does this fit into the end of the quarter, right? If I want to do a Black Friday sale, do I have time to do these things in advance? If I want to make a new freebie, do I have time to get it together before I want it to come out? If I want to do this big course launch, it doesn't make sense for me. And what I really want you to do, Mom, is I want you to go through your calendar, October, November, December. Friend, you know, and I both know it's about to get wild, right? Events, activities, things are going to pop up. It's a busy time for us. Now, just because it's a busy time does not mean it's an impossible time. It is a very busy season for me in my personal life. With work, I have less on my plate, so I'm actually able to work on more projects. Now, I still keep my boundaries, right, where I'm only working during work hours, which means I might lose a Friday morning because I have to go hand out candy at the Halloween parade. I might lose a Friday. It's always Fridays, right? Friday afternoon, because there's this thing. I'm working at the school shop. Like, we have this event. I have to get prepared. Like, I might lose some days. So it's paying attention. Where does this fit in? And then again, go on your where walk, take a nice little vision walk. How do you want success to look in this area? What do you want it to feel like? If I was to finish this brand new podcast and sit down and listen to the first episode on my player, like, what would that feel like for me? Identify what success is. This is where you might also, think about some goals for yourself, what you want to look like. Okay. I just did this exact activity where I stopped. I did some vision casting and I asked myself these questions, like, what does success look like for me? What would it feel like for me at the end of the quarter? Because I just did quarter 4 planning. At the end of quarter 4, if I hit these financial goals I made, if I finished the YouTube channel, it's a new project for us. We're kind of just throwing stuff up right now and then working backwards to clean my channel up because, it's interesting. I've had a YouTube channel for years, since I was in network marketing, and I have some accidental videos that like went viral. So I have people who follow, but like there's no content. So we're trying to clean it up backwards. But what would that feel like for me if I was able to actually make it work, have it be successful? What would it feel like for my family? Vision cast all these things that you need. It's going to help you anchor into the goal. And then it's going to allow you to filter out and say no to the work projects that don't make sense for quarter 4. Does it make sense for you right now to launch your new course before the end of the year? Now, I struggle here, right? Because I teach goal setting. Such an exciting time, the new year, right? And we're actually going back and forth to decide, hey, do we push our planning for 2024? Do we push that back till January, or do we do it in December? Now, typically we have a really good showing in December, but moms have given us the feedback that they're like, it's just so busy for us that I can't even think about 2024. But again, I don't want to miss the boat where people are excited about 2024. Do we move it forward? There's all these conversations you want to have, and you want to ask yourself, what's my vision here? Okay. So starting with the who, Who wants this project? Validate it, go through, talk to your people, do market research. Again, there's a full episode on that. Moving into your where, take your walk, write your vision. Does this make sense? Is this a project I want to do right now? And the thing I want you to also do is, if it doesn't make sense, what I really want you to do is I want you to ask yourself, where does it make sense? Don't put off a goal and just be like, I'll do it whenever, because come on, friend, you know that it's not going to get done that way. Where do you want it to go? Where does it actually make sense for you? All right, so we've already talked about the who. We've talked about the where. Let's talk about how. Before you jump into any work project, I want you to ask yourself, how does this fit into my big picture? And here's the bigger question. And I know you're a newer business owner. Most of the people who listen are still in the dream phase. They're starting their business. How are you going to make money? This is your business. You want to make money from it. So how are you going to use this to create a funnel? How are you going to use this to say, hey, I have this new book. Where does it bring in customers? How am I going to use this to make an impact on people? What are going to be the actions I need to take to get there? And I want you to make a couple goals. We always talk about good, better, best. So I want you to make your good, better, best goals. Okay. Your best goals, that's like top notch, right? Your good, we're going to allow that to be good enough. So what's your good goal? Financially, let's talk money for a second because we're talking business, right? Financially, what do you need to make to just pay your bills? What's your pay the bills money goal? What do you need to bring home? And also pay any expenses, right? So you want to figure that out. Then you make your better goal. Your better goal is, what do I need to be able to pay the bills, right? Pay myself, and then you pick a goal for your business. Have 3 to 6 months in business savings. Pay for that group coaching program you wanted to have. Hire a new person, right? What do I need there? And then I want you to make your unrealistic in your brain, knock it out of the park, best goal. What is your best goal? What you need to make, plus your savings, plus something big for you. I want to pay off my car, take my family to Disney. Make those 3 goals. Make them for each quarter, because then you can divide them up and you can then ask yourself, how am I going to get there? We often will just make these goals and then not think, well, how am I going to get there? Oh, I want a $10,000 a month. Well, what are you going to do? I want you to come up with this plan. I want you to come up with how it's going to fit into it, right? So, hey, I'm making this new template pack I want to sell, right? Sell it for $17. Cool. How are you going to sell it? Where are you going to put it in your funnel? Are you going to do a freebie to Tripwire? Are you going to do a flash sale? Or I'm looking to grow my email list, right? A lot of people come to me. They're like just trying to get their first 100 people on their email list. Okay. Awesome. Maybe it's not bringing income, but it's going to bring you the people who eventually are going to help bring in the income. So then you ask yourself, what am I going to do with this freebie? What's my promotional plan for this? Am I going to do a mid-roll on my podcast? Am I going to put it on a YouTube channel? Am I going to post about it on social media? How am I going to get people signed up? How am I going to get these first 100 people? This is also where you make your goals, okay? You're going to make a few different goals for the end of the quarter. Numerical, I want you to make an impact goal, which is like how many people you want to impact. That is very woo and very open and not concrete at all, but you can make it however you want, because we're going to get concrete. You're going to make a money goal, gross revenue. You might want to make like a net revenue goal too, if you're worrying about expenses. And then you're also going to make a growth goal. Growth goal is going to be things like, I have 100 people on my email list. I want to get 200, right? That type of thing. Okay. You're going to go through and make your goals, and that is going to allow you to make a plan. So do you see how we kind of took this pathway, right? It's like a little journey. We start with the who do I want to help? How do I want to help them? Where am I going to go? We move into, where does this fit into my life? Does this fit into my season? And what's my vision for this project? We then move into the how, big picture planning, goals, your funnels, figuring out how it fits into your business. And now we close out the pathway with what? So what the heck are you going to do? This is where you're going to decide your pre-planned list. This is the thing. You hear me talk about it every episode. When you pre-plan out what you want to do, you are going to thank yourself a ton. Why? Because when it's time to sit down, you can just work. Yesterday, I shared this on my stories. My son just had some fillings in his mouth. My 5-year-old, 6-year-old. Oh, goodness. He's 6 now. My 6-year-old had a couple fillings. They said he needed a couple hours before he wasn't like chewing his lip. And then he was like, my teeth hurt. So I just kept him home from school that day. Okay, fine. I didn't plan that though, because they told me, I said, how long is this going to take? And they said an hour. I said, can I send him to school? They said, yeah, he should be fine. That was not factual, right? So when he was done, it was not fine. And maybe my mom heart was a little bit like, oh, my baby, you can stay home 2 weeks for schooling, right? Like type of thing. But, right, I kept him home. So I had a day that I had planned to have a full work day, and it was my only one all week because I had personal things going on. My full work day, I was going to get stuff done. And guess what? I lost it. What got me through yesterday, in between snuggles, was my list. this is where you do your nitty gritty breakdown. Okay. This is where you determine what batches you need in order to actually complete the project. Okay. I'm going to do a freebie. So I need a day to design. I need days to brainstorm. Whatever it is. I need, days to work on promotion and email marketing. This is where you're going to work on those things. And what helped me yesterday was he'd be like, Mommy, I want to snuggle. So we would go to do a couch snuggle. Right. And sometimes I can like get away with like snuggling with my computer, but I could tell yesterday it was just one of those days, right? It was one of those days where my buddy was like, I need you. I need all of Mommy, right? And so we snuggled. But I also have to work. I cannot take an entire day unplanned off because I have to check in. Now, I didn't work my full day. I normally work like 5 hours a day. I didn't work that. But I was able to get in some work because I had the pre-plan. So I would go over to my ClickUp where it was all broken down. I would go to my home screen and then I would say, what are the tasks that I've pre-chunked out for myself? Answer this question, check this email, write this email. If it's a video or a podcast, go record one episode, right? That helps so much. So you want to spend so much of your time before the month begins in this. You are going to thank yourself. Now, somebody commented, because I put this on my TikTok, which come follow me on TikTok. I just realized I don't even know what it is. I think it's Purpose Driven Mom. Come find me on TikTok. I'm now on TikTok, but someone had commented on my TikTok. Actually, maybe it was Instagram, whatever. Still come find me on TikTok, but on Instagram, I think. And they said, I get this, but I feel like it takes so long to break it down. And I want to tell you, it doesn't have to take so long, but it's going to take some time. But you in a week is going to thank you today for breaking it down, because you want to be doing things when your brain is not in fight or flight, when your brain is not in reactive mode, when you're proactive about your business and your life and your goals. When reactive things happen, because they will, kid home, right? My brain wanted to say, oh, screw it, I lost the whole day. Instead, I said, thank you, Cara, from last week or last month, who had set this up. So now I can walk in, I know exactly what has to get done, still do there's a couple things on fire yesterday I had to handle, still handle it. And then also not feel guilty. I didn't feel guilty about ditching my business for the day. I didn't feel guilty about ditching my kid for the day. I was able to get it done. And it actually felt pretty good. Now, my house, we ditched that for the day. And that was what it was. It was funny because my mother-in-law came over. She's like, oh my gosh. I'm like, all right. Listen, I always tell my husband, I'm like, listen, I have lots of really great skills. Taking care of the house just ain't one of them. I'm doing my best over here, right? And I'm fine with that, right? If other people have a problem, they don't have to live in my house. But story for another day. That being said, do your breakdowns. Get it set up for yourself. You're going to thank yourself. Now, listen, I talked about a lot today with this planning pathway framework, but I want you to start thinking about Q4. What do you want to accomplish in your business? Run it through the framework. Who, right? Where, how, what? Run it through the framework. When you're done, you're going to have a really good plan for the quarter. You're going to know where you want to go. You're going to know where you're going to spend your time. You're going to figure all of it out. Show notes are over at purposedrivenmom.com/podcast370. There'll be some other relevant podcast episodes you can listen to. Again, come over to the YouTube channel. Come check it out, Purpose Driven Mom. Come and hang out with me. I actually do not know the link to it, so we're going to put that in the show notes too. And again, ignore a lot of the stuff that's messy on it because we're getting there, but we're going to make a playlist called podcasts. So if you want to watch the podcast, I'm incredibly expressive. I talk with my hands. So, it's probably entertaining to watch in the least. But come hang out if you prefer this method. And if you're on YouTube, you can download or subscribe to the Purpose Driven Mom podcast, wherever you podcast, or please leave a comment. Like, share. I actually am in research mode because I have no idea how YouTube algorithms work, but I feel like if you engage with this, other people will see it. And the goal is that we get other moms who want to learn how to start and grow and run a business and work on their personal goals without sacrificing their sleep and their families. We want to help them out. So let's grow our community. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for hanging out today.